Hi everyone, Olivia here. You can probably tell from my voice I feel a bit groggy. I've caught this awful superflu thing that's floating around the UK at the moment, but I'm going to power through anyway because we're at the end of 2025. Like most cinematic years, I think we've had a good selection of movies to choose from. Although personally I'm usually disappointed that sometimes the biggest films during award season don't usually have their releases here until January, or are simply just not screened in my area. Due to this, I haven't seen The Smashing Machine, Sentimental Value, or Hamnet yet, but I'll definitely get around to them when I can. I'm also looking forward to It Was Just an Accident, No Other Choice, and Marty Supreme. If you follow me on Letterboxd, you'll see my thoughts on these films pop up in good time. Usually if I can't catch them in cinema, I try to pick them up on Blu-ray as soon as possible. Furthermore, if you like what I do on the channel, please consider supporting it over on Patreon, where I usually post uncensored videos, music track files for each video, videos blocked on YouTube, behind the scenes posts, stuff like that. As usual, before diving into my top 10 of the year, first we're going to delve into my Honourable Mentions. There's a few titles here that may have been released in other regions during the last year, but here in the UK we got them in 2025, so I felt they would still deserve some credit here. My first pick is a confidently directed debut. Christopher Andrews' Bring Them Down finds flawed humanity within morally grey, bleak characters. Intimidating, blistering, resentful, this film finds a fascinating mixture of human desire for stability, the desire for more, and the aggression which holds humanity back. Told between two perspectives as a rivalry explodes between two farming households when Michael discovers his flock of sheep have been killed. Meshing Sam Peckinpah brutality with suspense, like a rural western of psychological terror, Bring Them Down's exploration of the dormant darkness within all of us shouldn't be slept on. My next choice is a new direction for a previously fumbled cinematic universe. James Gunn treated us this summer with his take on Superman, which emphasised kindness and well-natured humour in an exciting adventure that cherishes love of humanity and all it entails. While I'm not generally a major superhero movie fan, although I do have a few favourites for sure, James Gunn often feels like a breath of fresh air to me. He's somebody who understands his characters well, knowing how to bring them to the screen with genuine heart, and no shortage of spectacular visuals. This movie packed in such memorable sequences, I'm still thinking of that Noah and the Whale 5 years time needle drop, or the desperate race to save a baby from oblivion. This movie's an absolute blast. Now, likely one of my more polarising choices for this list, but I'm not going to hide it. I loved Osgood Perkins' The Monkey. This film was deliriously silly, like a screwball comedy disguised as a supernatural chiller, and it certainly worked its nasty little magic on me. I howled laughing at the goofiest moments, and found myself enamoured by the enigma of this killer monkey that couldn't be rid of, like a curse of generational trauma that lingers within the bloodline until all is eradicated. It's a twisted little flick, and seeing how Osgood Perkins discusses the film as a cathartic release from grief, I feel that I got a similar sense of satisfaction, a relief from mourning through humour, no matter how dark or daft. My next choice is a thoughtful subversion of a paranormal chiller. Steven Soderbergh's presence may have disappointed some viewers due to its trailers making it look a more conventional supernatural horror, but for those patient enough to let the film unravel, what we get in return is a painful exploration on the invasion of consensual boundaries, both physical and spiritual, as discord is sown in the middle for a family that moves into a new seemingly picturesque home. While I wish the iconic Lucy Liu was given more to do in her role, the central drama is nonetheless gripping and disturbing, told from the point of view of a ghost, as personal barriers and family ties are crossed. This next choice, while not my favourite of his most recent output, although I'm not a hater of his recent output at all, Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme continues with his elaborate toy box smorgasbord approach by giving us a funny, tender, eccentric father-daughter misadventure through assassination attempts, wealth disparity, and iffy investments that moves at a breakneck speed so quick that it's sometimes pretty difficult to keep up with the pace. Never dull, albeit quite overwhelming, The Phoenician Scheme lets Benicio del Toro embrace his comedic wit with silliness and grace in equal measure. A heartfelt joy for sure. As an early January release here in the UK, although I know this could count as a 2024 film for other regions, I feel The Brutalist was a wonderful display of human obsession, the self-indulgences that restricts vision of the things in front of us, and the aspiration to achieve after surviving through hell. Beautifully shot, full of alluring, hypnotic, brutalist architecture and design throughout, Adrien Brody's performance is often gripping in his almost Don Quixotic fascinations. Guy Pearce is a rogue of charms and deceptions, but it's Felicity Jones who is likely my favourite performance here, the tough shoulder and backbone Elizabeth, bound by a faltering marriage to Brody's Laszlo. Understandably, this won't be everyone's cup of tea. 3.5 hours on the exercises of self-indulgence is self-indulgent in itself, but personally, I was hooked. Now, a filmmaker that has yet to disappoint me is Bong Joon-ho, so I was all on board for Mickey 17, his newest English-language film. Another offbeat sci-fi dystopic satire, but unlike Snowpiercer, Mickey 17 could easily be viewed as a screwball comedy too. Robert Pattinson as a man who signs up for a position where every time he dies in a dangerous job he is cloned and cloned again is brilliantly eccentric, both awkward and cocky, anti yet also pro-establishment, in a fun dual role that has him fighting himself. Mark Ruffalo leans into his cartoonishly villainous persona as a clear parody of Trump or Jeff Bezos, a corrupt, cult-like corporate leader planning on colonising a planet he claims as his own, and Ruffalo is equally as delirious, silly, and delightful in his villainy. Toni Collette, Stephen Yeun, and Naomi Ackie are brilliant here too. This is a film that leans into its quirks with genuine peculiarity, criticising ongoing colonisation, political corruption, and religious fundamentalism. A film equally silly and disturbing in a manner that works its magic on me. I don't want to reveal anything too much about the next one. I believe the less you know, the more impactful this film's shocks will be. Yet however, I've seen this film a few times now, and each viewing has left me in emotional pieces. Michael and Danny Philippou's follow-up from Talk to Her, Bring Her Back, is even more devastating, following two recent orphans moving into a foster home, where grief underlies every inevitable horror. This one is a tough watch, and I wouldn't be surprised if other viewers struggled to keep their eyes dry by the end of it. Sally Hawkins remains one of the understated best at performances that deliver smiles hiding years of pain. The Raka Raka duo certainly seem to have carved out a strong niche for heartbreaking horrors. I'm excited to see what they plan to do next. So for this one, I haven't seen much mention or discussion for Sushi Ching's Left-Handed Girl, but I feel it deserves more attention. As a single mother and her two daughters move to Taipei into a smaller apartment and taking over a market stall restaurant, this film has an observant, intimate, comic, and empathetic perspective towards its characters, struggling to make ends meet, struggling to find their purposes, recognising the disconnect between them and the wider world. The film reminds me somewhat of Sean Baker's Florida Project in its depiction of a family struggling to stay afloat, while also being shot like Tangerine with an iPhone. It's no surprise that Baker himself produced, co-wrote and edited this film too. This one is certainly worth the time. My final honourable mention was a film I didn't know much going into it. Alex Garland's and Ray Mendoza's Warfare is an understated exercise in grounded suspense and the realistic trauma of war. Based on Ray Mendoza's own experiences as a Navy SEAL during the Iraq War, Warfare doesn't shy away from the boisterous masculine, puffed chests of expected combat and the bitter reality of losing close friends, disintegrated or dismantled by weaponry that shouldn't exist in the first place. A chilling and authentic film. My only gripe is that I wish there was more to sink my teeth into with these characters. The moments of banter and leadership gives a sense of respect and camaraderie amongst the soldiers, but they don't quite feel like the most memorable individuals. Nonetheless, if you enjoyed Garland's Civil War last year like I did, this is a solid, subtle follow-up that continues Garland's immersive directorial approach. With that out of the way, now it's time for my top 10 films of 2025. Continuing Stephen King's killer streak of strong adaptation after strong adaptation this year, we were finally treated to Mike Flanagan's theatrical release of The Life of Chuck, an adaptation of a short story centred on the titular Chuck. guiding us through differing stages of his life, split into 3 acts, revealed in reverse. It's difficult to discuss key points in this film without going into huge spoiler territory, so this all might feel too vague, but I feel knowing less about this film beforehand will make your time spent with it all the more rewarding. The Life of Chuck boasts great performances from Tom Hiddleston, Jacob Tremblay, and Mark Hamill, whose crotchety warmth disguises pain, and his harsh words disguise kindness. It's mesmerising to see this film collide into one magnificent celebration of human nature, how we all contain multitudes, and how we should stop waiting for the inevitable and instead just start living. A thoroughly gorgeous film, initially unsettling but gradually life-affirming, capturing the central humanism of Stephen King's writing. I could see this film becoming a new comfort classic. My next pick is a culturally detailed, thematically rich film drenched in history and horror noir, racial legacy, spirituality, and gorgeous music. Ryan Coogler gave us a career-defining highlight with Sinners. Understanding the healing transcendental nature of music across generations, as 2 identical twins set up a juke joint for black folk to have fun away from the racist expectations of a world governed by white supremacy before shit well and truly hits the fan. With a sumptuous fluidity between blues, jazz, funk and Irish folk, Sinners strives for pure sensory immersion, and it delivers. This is a cast we're spoiled by. Michael B. Jordan delivers a masterclass in charisma as Smoke and Stack, our identical twins. Newcomer Miles Caton offers a gorgeous, booming, soulful voice that pairs with a thoughtfully optimistic performance that wishes for more beyond religious fundamentalism. Wunmi Masaku is elegant, graceful and confident, her role utilising hoodoo practice with a respect rarely depicted in a film of this scale. Delroy Lindo's performance convinces us of his role as a well-lived, troubled, yet exquisite musician who finds music in all facets of life, and Jack O'Connell as Remick, a charismatic offering of temptations that echoes the consequences of colonialism and exploitation of black culture for white audiences. Sinners is a film of immense cultural depth, funneled into a gripping, horny vampiric feast for the senses. Now, as a lover of animation, it's probably an obvious pick, but few films had the cross-generational pop cultural sway of Maggie Kang's and Chris Applehands' K-pop Demon Hunters this year. Exquisite in style like a hyperactive manhwa, full of fantastic earworms that work as singular pop songs but carry an emotional weight and character depth within the context of the film, K-pop Demon Hunters was a thrill to behold. There isn't a minute wasted in this film. Every moment and every inch of the frame, every sound is injected to keep this rollercoaster going, and it's delightful how often this film hits the nail on the head when it comes to humour, aesthetics, melody and emotion. There's no surprise why kids and adults alike have identified with this film, especially within the queer community. This is a film about an outsider trying to fit in, a search for acceptance for her fullest self, and not just the easily presentable elements. It's a film full of heartfelt joy for sincere friendships that transcends boundaries and the need to escape the societal expectations placed on each of us. It's beautiful seeing a film so culturally rich in Korean pop culture, folklore and style reach across continents to tell a story that is truly universal. This next film is one of the most unsettling films I've seen this year. Geeta Gandbir's The Perfect Neighbour examines the layers of white supremacy, mental health disregard, social tensions, gun violence, and the depths of grief within black communities, told from the perspective of police body cameras as the events unfolded between an agitated, argumentative white woman and her black neighbours. An important documentary dissecting racial tensions in real time, exacerbated by white entitlement and authoritative complacency that doesn't do enough to remedy circumstances within the long run. Gandbir's devastating documentary goes to show the inevitability of a rumbling volcano ready to explode. If you care for the social injustices of the world, this film will infuriate you, it will upset you, and hopefully it will motivate you. Gandbeer's choice of bodycam footage could have been a pummeling of real-life misery, but numerous times we witness a community in pain coming together to express their love and solidarity, solidifying that communal integrity that will, hopefully, often triumph over hatred, and the complacency that allows it to go unchecked. Next up is a brilliantly understated film, written, directed and starring Eva Victor, Sorry Baby. After a traumatizing incident shifts her outlook on existence, Agnes tries to move out of her professional and psychological rut, attempting to find her own path through a world that seemingly keeps shutting her out. A wonderful balance of observant, relatable yet dry humour and pitch-black drama, Sorry Baby achieves something magnificent. Never gratuitous, the film manages to be hilarious without undermining the pain of trauma, and heartbreaking without undermining the legitimacy of those nuggets of joy that help us through the day. Eva Victor is so goddamn funny and painful as Agnes, delightful and driven, yet vulnerable and open, portraying a truly grounded, nuanced form of depression, anxiety, and suffering that cuts deep. Delight is soured by reality, and reality is brightened by spontaneous connections in Sorry Baby, making for a deeply resonating film about friendships, surviving, and the societal disconnect when dealing with what the rest of the world remains ignorant to understanding. So I think it's fair to say that when Guillermo del Toro comes out with a new film, it becomes an event. His spin on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is no different. What a powerhouse of the fantastical, the elegant, and the excellent. A loose retelling of the classic novel, Del Toro retains the central themes of Frankenstein, mankind as the true monstrosity, marginalisation, and the arrogance of creation, while unveiling a tale that is wholly his own, complete with Del Toro's sense of emotionally intelligent empathy, magic, and dark humanity. Everything from the costumes, the settings, the special effects, hair and makeup is intricately composed, with a fantastic cast delivering career-best performances. Oscar Isaac, Mia Goth, Christoph Waltz, and Jacob Elordi as the monster do not disappoint. Do not expect a word-for-word accurate representation of the novel, but allow Guillermo del Toro to do what he does best, weaving classic Gothic horrors with the deeply human, satisfying our urges for the grotesque and the emotionally obliterating. One of my favourite movies of the year was a surprise summer hit and a fantastic follow-up to his twisted yet darkly comic horror debut. Zach Cregger's Weapons felt like such a moment. People saw it based on word of mouth, which spread to wide mainstream success. Cregger's film is a witty, disturbing, sobering, peculiar, and often very funny film in just the right doses at the exact right times, making the film this unforgettable rollercoaster of unpredictability, fear, and anxiety-induced humour. Told across multiple perspectives after a classroom full of kids disappear one night, except for one, this film will grip most viewers instantly. Reflecting on the paranoia of social contagions, the bitterness of remorse, and tinged with the reflections on parasites and vices, Weapons kept me guessing until the very end. Josh Brolin and Julia Garner are fantastic here, there was never any doubt. But Amy Madigan truly deserves her flowers for her performance, one I won't elaborate too much on, as it's something to witness for yourselves. Suspenseful, painful, and devilishly tongue-in-cheek, Weapons deserves its success. One of my more anticipated watches this year certainly didn't disappoint me, although the film has gained criticisms I feel are fully warranted, which I'll dive into shortly. Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another, a loose adaptation of Thomas Pynchon's Vineland, was an exhilarating ride from start to finish, with some very long sequences that never loosened their grip on me. Part of the excitement comes from Johnny Greenwood's fantastic score of discordant, offbeat, jazz-inspired compositions, which continued to ramp up the tension and thrill, while also alluding to the film's absurd and comic tone. Paul Thomas Anderson is a modern master, no doubt, with a killer cast that doesn't disappoint. DiCaprio as a leftist revolutionary in search of his daughter has some of the funniest and punchiest reactions, but it also serves as an emotional desperation any parent can relate to. Benicio del Toro might just be the coolest motherfucker in the entire film. Regina Hall and Tiana Taylor serve as different sides of the same coin, a contrast between Taylor's ferocity and independence and Hall's empathetic loyalty. And Sean Penn is an absurdist terror of masculine insecurity and fascism. Newcomer Chase Infinity is one to watch, as her performance as DiCaprio's daughter is a fantastic mix of sharp wit, inquisitiveness, determination, and vulnerability. The criticism surrounding this film, however, made by black film reviewers and other content creators, is that the film fetishizes the labour of black women revolutionaries for the benefit and gratification of white men. It's a valid point after all. The film doesn't exactly hide that its protagonist fetishizes black women within leftist circles. I wouldn't blame anybody who felt like this was a problematic film they wished to avoid due to this reason. Nonetheless, I did personally find this film thoroughly gripping from start to end. The time just flew by. My next choice felt so profound to a rare extent few films achieve. Clint Bentley's adaptation Train Dreams is a quiet, stoic yet painful journey, transitioning from one era of America into the next. Time continually moving, and often leaving those unable to move along with it behind. It's an understated yet powerful film. The Terrence Malick inspiration is imbued within every inch of this movie, concluding with such life-affirming gratitude, which left me teary-eyed by the end. Joel Edgerton is divine as Robert, the unassuming man with quiet ambitions of family life and comfort, during a time when North America enters the early stages of modernization. Edgerton's performance is gentle, subtle, yet his expressions hide the deepest sorrow, with no signs of resolution. This is a marvellous performance for a deeply poignant film, from a writer-director who continues to excel with crafting tremendous, emotionally resonant dramas. So now at this point you might get tired of me talking about Stephen King adaptations, but humour me for one last nod. Francis Lawrence's adaptation of The Long Walk felt like one of the most miserable cinema experiences I had, in the best way possible. I'm easy to make cry when it comes to movies, I don't hide that, but it takes something special to hit me 5 times, and to also hear others in the cinema crying too, knowing the emotional pain this film inflicted on us was something to share in. Written when King was a teenager himself, this tale of teens signing up for a high-stakes competition where there can only be one winner evokes the images of sons going to war and never coming back, but the intensity of poverty and fascism on screen modernizes the tale's concerns for the current political climate. Cooper Hoffman continues to impress me. As Garrity, he is both warming, flawed, traumatized, like an emotional smorgasbord of everything we're bound to experience during the runtime of this film. However, I feel it's David Johnson as Peter who really cements this film as something special, exuding stoic wisdom while fighting his own demons. A performance that's truly magnetic. These two actors together make for a powerful duo, and I found myself gripped to their every conversation, every pain, and every joy. The Long Walk is a miserable experience. The film doesn't hide its grisliest details, but the journey felt to me an intensely powerful one. And that's another year done, everyone. 2026 I think should be a promising one. I'm certainly looking forward to it. In the UK we'll get Hamnet, but later in the year we'll also be seeing Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, Lord and Miller's Project Hail Mary, Nia DaCosta's 28 years later follow-up, The Bone Temple, Jane Schonbrun's Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma. I was absolutely floored by I Saw the TV Glow last year, and I love We're All Going to the World's Fair, so I'm eager to see what Jane does next. That's just a sample of what I'm looking forward to in 2026, but honestly, the list is too long to summarise here. As film lovers, hopefully we have a good year of movies next year, accompanied by less chaotic fascist bullshit destroying the world. Take care of yourselves, everyone. A special thank you to my incredible tier Patreon supporters, Gil, Jared Spears of Concessions, and Javier Grillo Mouthswatch, and my super tier Patreon supporters, Spoldzilla, Eclair, and Keith Gaylor.